Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across this beautiful nation and around this glorious globe. I am Kelly, your host of Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one drip at a time. So grab your coffee, take a seat, get cozy, because today we're talking aliens.
I just don't know what's real. It's hard to know.
So we all packed up. We're in Beatty, Nevada, which is the Burrow Inn. I can tell you that's where we always hold up at. And we take off from there every morning to go do the AM and the PM push. That's what you call it when the war is on. You call it the push. So we had one in the morning called AM push, one in the afternoon PM push. So we were all heading up for the AM push in a convoy. There's 3 vehicles, probably about 3 to 4 people per vehicle. I'm in the lead vehicle with the ranking guy. He's driving, and I'm right behind him. And then there's another gentleman in the passenger seat across from the driver, and then there's a young lady next to me. And we're all going up. And the ranking guy had been there the week before, and he had seen the craft fly by, because that one's out there on the internet. You can pull down the video. There's a report that goes along with it.
There's a video that we can watch right now.
Right now, yeah.
What would he search?
Search for, let me think, Nellis Test Range UFO 1994.
You guys notice that looks just like that Boogosphere and that other, I don't remember what the other one was called, but there's 2 of them out there now from 2 different locations. The Boogosphere is just the newest one. And by the way, they don't just have one Boogosphere. They have 3. 2 are that size, and then one is actually smaller, like the size of a grapefruit. I don't know where they found the other 2, but they did. I watched a 2.5 hour long conference, and they did show video footage of the original people that found them, seeing them in the sky and then land, just very similar to the Boogosphere one. But that looks just like the Boogosphere. And it has like a message on it that if you stare at the symbolism very long, it's almost like subliminal, I guess, to unlock your memories and make you remember who you are, who they are, and how to awaken, like for this spiritual awakening. It's a really beautiful message, which, by the way, I'm going to show you in a moment, um, correlates exactly with a crop circle.
Dun, dun, dun. Who
So
filmed this?
this was filmed by the operators on the range, because we're putting these pilots in a risky situation by playing war with them, but we're training them. So if there is any kind of a mishap or a pilot or plane goes down, everything needs to be recorded. So they
this
have,
is it right here?
yes. So this video is being taken by one of these cameras that's up on the range. And along the bottom, you see that this is also trying to lock on to the craft so it can, follow it as it goes in and out, because this is the kind of way that you want to track if there's a craft that is having problems. And,
This is moving very erratically.
Right. So this is what the ranking guy saw.
Can I pause you for a second? This tracking, is this manual or is this like some
This
sort of an
automated.
automated system?
It's an automated system.
So the automated system is having a hard time
Locking on
to it.
Yeah, if it locks on, you'll see a big spike, and that means that it finally locks on. Right now it's trying to, but something is stopping it from locking on. And they think it was the craft.
and it's moving like crazy, side to side, all over.
There's
it.
actually a recording that goes with it where you hear the guys going, "Hey, does anybody know what this is? What's going on here?"
Can we hear that? Okay, the sound is terrible.
Yeah.
They need better mics.
Honestly, that's the
Do we
way
have
it sounds when
podcast
you're
mics?
working up there. But
Oh, I'm
anyway,
sure, but he's saying, what is that? I don't know. We're having a hard time locking onto it.
Right.
right, this is the video operator. So the following week after this happens, this video is taken, the ranking guy who had been there the week before and saw this thing flying, he takes us in this, when you go on the range through this one gate here, it goes up a little ways, and then there's a cantonment area. It's got a very small place where you can change your tires, get gas, just minor maintenance to get your butt home if you have a car that's busted. And then in the back of that cantonment area, there's 2 huts that look like campers, really, glorified campers. So the video operators are in the one that's off to the northeast of the cantonment, and in the very corner of it. And the ranking guy just says, "We all have to go in here. We're going to go talk to the video operators. We have to do this." And this was because the week prior, everybody came back to garrison, or back to our unit, and they had seen this thing, and they were all talking about this UFO. So we go in there, and there's the video operator. He has us all write our names down, whether we were there and saw it the first week or not. Then he makes us all sit down and watch that video. And he says, "Do you know what this is?" And we're like, "No." And then he just said, "Okay, thank you." And then we, after everybody that was there saw it and wrote their name down, we were allowed to leave. And that was all that was required. And so I was like, "Well, what was that all about?" But then as I'm exiting, this lady that had been sitting against the wall on the far part of this little hut that we were in, and she like grabs my arm and she just says, "There's somebody on the range. Don't talk to him." And she was really, really freaked out. And I'm like, "Thanks, strange, freaky lady. Got it." And I'm like, whatever. So we all hop out, we get in the vehicles, and then start taking off towards Quartz Mountain, because right at that cantonment area, there's a hard right. There's a hard right that goes off to Quartz Mountain. And about a mile, half a mile to a mile down that road, it's all dirt road up, by the way, there's this guy. It looks like he's wearing a uniform like we are. He got battle dress uniform on. So he sees us, and he starts to look like he's running, and he's got this really weird run, like his arms are kind of flailing behind him. It's like he was running against the hurricane wind, and it was like he was going to fall over at any time. And I was like, "Yeah, it's a bit windy today, but it ain't that bad." So it looked really strange, and then I began to notice his skin tone looked like he might be hypothermic. And I'm thinking, "Oh crap, this dude's been out here. It's freaking freezing out here," because it was a very cold day, and the wind was blowing. It was, those cold days where it didn't matter how many layers you had on. And so as we're getting closer, I'm talking to the ranking guy. "Hey, we need to slow down." So anyway, I'm thinking, this guy's probably in big trouble. I need to pull off my jacket. I need to give him something to get warm real quick. So I'm starting to do that, and we're approaching, and by the time I get my jacket most of the way off, he's right there at the corner of the front of the car. And
So he looks pale? Is that what you're saying?
he looked like an albino with a very bluish kind of undertone. If you could imagine,
So you're assuming you're immediately associating that with he's freezing.
yeah, because that's all I could equate it to.
Right.
And then as I'm starting to open my door to try to administer aid to this guy, the dude in the front passenger seat screams he's got no ears. And I thought that was pretty rude, because I was like, the guy's in trouble.
Does he have a hat on? Does he have
He's got a hat on, and he's got BDUs that look absolutely clean, pristine. And when you're uprange, you do not wear your cleanest uniform. You're in a dirty environment. You wear your scuffed up boots. You don't take them with you.
So he's got clean battle dress uniform.
Everything.
United States military
very out of
uniform
place.
on.
Yeah, it looks very out of place when I finally do it. But anyway, I step out onto the roadway, and this guy screams that he's got no ears. And I just thinking it's really rude. And then I close the door, and I look up, and he's got no freaking ears. And his eyes are twice as big. And I'm like, yeah. what the hell did I just walk into? This guy's not from around
How
here.
far away from him are you?
Probably from me to
Just a few
Logan.
feet.
Yeah, just talking distance.
Okay.
And I'm starting to freak out. But then he starts to talk to me, and it's not my language, but it's coming to the understanding is like coming into my mind about every word he's saying. Because
So he's actually saying words,
he's saying words, but it doesn't sound like anything I've heard before.
but you're understanding what he's saying.
But I'm understanding. So I know there's a telepathic thing going on here, and it calms me down at the same time because I'm having to respond to him. And he's like, hello, I'm having trouble with my craft. I need some repair material. Do you know where I could find some tritium? And this is what he's talking to me about. And I'm like, you mean titanium? Because I didn't know anything about tritium at the time. But titanium, he's like, no, it's not it. And I'm like, well, at this point in my career, I had just left the program. So I knew where Dreamland was. And I pointed to the mountain range because you can see for days in the desert. But I pointed towards the mountain range and I said, Dreamland's just over there. And this wave of emotion hit me like disgust. Like, I am not going to talk to those barbarians and murderers. You know, and
Wow. So he was saying that to you, like
Yeah.
his reaction.
I just want to pause right there for a moment so that you all can understand some of what he's saying in a better context, okay? Because he's talking about a pale bluish white being with no ears, right? That walks strange with his arms kind of dangling behind him almost. He also mentions that Dreamland is just over the range. Now, Whitley Strieber is one of the most popularized of people who have written books or talked about alien abduction. And he actually has a radio um, program or something and a website and all of that that's called Dreamland. Now, he's one of them that has always told a story that never matched anything that anybody else was saying. You know, he had the book and the movie Communion and all that. And I don't necessarily believe what he says is truth about his original story. Now, maybe some of what he knows now is truth because he's been in that arena, he's been in that circle of people to where he could witness things and see things and experience different stuff. So maybe he has information now, and maybe his case is true, and we've just never heard one like his before. Um, However, not a whole lot about what he said ever really resonated with me as truth. And I've always, I'm an avid researcher, and so I do a lot of research and vetting people, background work on them. And he was one of those people that I always felt like was working for the opposition, working for the ones that are trying to control the narrative of the whole scenario of an alien abduction or alien visitation to our planet theme. And he literally named his stuff Dreamland, which is the same name as this military base that was doing the covert studies of extraterrestrials visiting our planet. So I just wanted to have you put a pin in that because that's something that will come up in later conversation.
Action to going to the military base was,
exactly. Yeah.
I was
But
not
he did
going
not
to
like it. He said, I am not going to talk to those people. And then I was like, well, shoot.
And it was barbarians and murderers.
He literally, that was what he called them, yes. And mentally, that's what it was. But the
Is this
emotion,
tritium, is this a real thing?
well, that's what, I've had a lot of friends. There's analysts also that were on the top secret network that were trying to help me understand what
We
material.
were throwing everything at him. We're like, is it this? Is it this? And he's
And then
like,
finally,
no.
that's the one. When they hit tritium, I was like, that's what it was. That's what he said.
And what is tritium?
It's a type of, well, can he bring it up on the?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because it should pop up on Wikipedia pretty quick. But it has some properties that probably would work.
Tritium. But are you saying tritium?
Yeah, tritium is that's the stuff that's in Loom, like in your
Yes.
watch when your watch glows. That's
Yeah.
you know they make
In my
those where
bud.
they're basically like radioactive isotopes that stay lit. So like if you get like a Marathon watch, Marathon makes military watches, and the it doesn't need like this watch. You need the light and it light charges the loom, and then when it's dark out, you could read the hands for like a few
It's
hours.
the thing that they used to put on the end of the guns, right?
Exactly, they still do. A
Yeah.
lot like Sig has them
Now
on
look
their
up
guns.
tritium also. Put an
Tritium
end in
is
there.
just a lot. It's
I did that. That's not giving me much.
so tritium, chunky glow in the dark glitter.
You
What
know,
is that?
these are all like these are game websites.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. I'm
Okay,
trying
so
to
it's
find-
tritium, then I may be mispronouncing
But
it.
tritium that's that radioactive isotope.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff that emits light.
Yep.
So it emits a weak form of radiation.
Yes.
A rare radioactive isotope of hydrogen with a half-life of 12.3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is what he's asking me for.
So he's asking you for that stuff? Tritium?
Yep. And I'm like, I don't know where to get.
Oh, look at that. It's used in boosted fission weapons and thermonuclear weapons. Oh, great.
That sounds reassuring, right?
I wonder what the fuck it's doing on your wrist. Is there anybody...
This is what the best image that we have of what he could have looked like.
Oh, boy. Can you send that to Jamie?
Yeah, I don't know Jamie's number, but we'll
Here.
find a way to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an
if I
iPhone?
had,
Yeah,
if I
this
had
is
my
my
phone, I would, but it's
Airdrop
out
it to
there,
me.
I think.
Yeah, airdrop it to Jamie. Do you know how to do that?
There was
How
that
dare
one.
you not know how to do
Oh,
that?
and there's a
Your guy
three-dimensional.
works with UFOs. You better know how to do that.
Well, there's a three-dimensional image of the craft as well that is really spot on from what I saw that day.
Yeah.
Because not only did I see this guy running towards us and talking to him, but off the shoulder on the north side of the roadway, that's where the craft was just resting on the desert floor. And I got a really good look at it at that point. And this guy did a 3D rendering of the description, and it's spot on as I've ever seen. It's almost perfect.
So he asks you for tritium. You tell him this is what it looked like.
This is what the guy looked like. Pretty close to it.
Yo.
The nose was a little bit rounder on the end, but that was a really good rendition. But yeah, his eyes almost came out to here on the temple.
Wow. And that would freak me out.
It freaked me out. I mean, honestly, I'm not an easy guy to get freaked out, but that really put that like you just saw an alligator pop up out of the water kind of thing.
Right. So when you tell him go to Dreamland, it says I'm not going to go where those murderers and barbarians are, and then what happens?
And he said no. So I was like, well, where else can I possibly point him to? Because I'm like, I don't know any metallurgists or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, and I relayed to him. I said, well, I'm taking college classes down in the city of Vegas, Las Vegas, at the community college. But I have a geophysical professor that I'm taking a class from. Maybe he has a metallurgist friend, and he's like,
So you're thinking at this time though it's a metal,
I am, yes.
right? Because you're thinking it's some kind of like titanium, some type of.
Right. And there's also when
This is the 3D image of what the craft looks
that
like.
is almost as spot on as I've ever seen. That is about it right there. That's almost exactly what I saw resting on the desert floor.
And so you're trying to find different people that you can connect this being to.
Yeah.
And what is it saying to you while you're?
He thought that was a good idea, I think, or he was like, it made him. He had that kind of, and he wanted to take action. So he doesn't really even say goodbye. He just kind of turns and off he goes back to his craft. And I'm thinking, well, okay. And I get back in the car, and sometime during that conversation with this entity, I remembered looking over at my friends in the car, and they had the weirdest look on their face, like they were all zonked out, totally zombied, like they were just drooling on themselves.
Were they just because they were flabbergasted, or was it
I didn't
because
know.
something was going on?
Well, I figured out that maybe it was done by this entity because none of them seem to even remember the incident. Only a few people seems to remember that we stopped, that we had talked to somebody on the roadway, but it was mainly the people that were in the back of the convoy.
So they didn't see it up close like you
Right,
did.
like we did. The people
So
that
how
were
far
right
away
there,
would they be?
they'd probably be a good 2 car lengths behind us.
That's still enough to detect whether or not someone looks blue, though, right?
Correct, and that's probably what they saw. But you know me, I'm kind of wide and I'm big. I was very muscular back then.
And you're standing in front of this thing.
So they'd have a difficult time because this guy stood about a good half foot shorter than me. And so they probably could see his arms from time to time, maybe catch a glimpse of his face or something. So they probably didn't get a very good view because if you're looking at me, I'm standing right next to my door, and they're behind me, kind of.
So isn't that interesting that we have all of these military people coming forward and talking about this? And I know from personal experience that they're real. Um, and everybody's always thought me to be crazy, you know, or a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, because it's hard to believe. And I understand that it's hard to believe because I've had these experiences my whole life and I would still question it. I would still be like, was that real? Did that really happen? Oh my God. And even after it happened again, I'd be like, oh my God, did that shit just happen? And then I started like documenting everything I could remember, you know. And when recall would start coming to me in dreams or whatever, I would keep a journal and I would write things down. And now I have like a whole coffee cup journal full of information that's my experiences. And even last night in my free time, um, actually, I think I had just heard this interview because when he said the guy was blue, and then he's talking about how he looked like an albino. Well, that brought back very strong memories for me from the time that I was in the park and met with Alanis, the very beautiful young lady, and the albino, who was totally dressed out of place for our time and era, and the two small beings that were with him. So it reminded me of all of that. It reminded me of being on board the ship with my other parents, right? And the blue man who was called Zufu, who to me looked like a very large blue giraffe in a lot of ways, a human giraffe, right? So after I was hearing this last night, I guess that's what triggered my memories. And I realized that in all of the time that I was drawing things or writing things down and documenting all of these memories, I really only wrote about Zufu. I never really drew a picture of him. And I'm no artist by any means, but because I can't hold images in my mind of things that I'm wanting to draw, like if I wanted to draw an apple, I'm not going to make that apple look very realistic. You know, I can't draw dogs and cats and things like that. I can draw people's faces if I'm looking at them. I can draw nature because I spend a lot of time in nature, so I know what that looks like very vividly. And so my experiences, I can draw them fairly well, fairly accurately, um, to what I have seen and the memories that are still in me from them. Um, but I'm no artist by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. But last night I decided to draw or sketch, whatever, some images of Zufu. So I drew a headlong image of him first. And then I was like, I really need people to understand this long giraffe neck thing that's going on, right? And he even like had the whatever those are called, horns or whatever that giraffes have. He even had those, except they were blue like his skin. No spots on him like a giraffe. He was just a very soft blue. And so I drew a side profile as well. And I have the picture here with me to share with you. And I hope I might have to. There you go. Do you see the image? That's what he looked like. Like that's a side view and a front view of what he looks like. And after I drew it and I'm looking at him again, I realize he looks a lot like the Avatar from the movie, the James Cameron movie Avatar. So I wrote down at the bottom, looks like a giraffe mixed with an avatar. Instead of like in my coffee cup journal, it says, looks like a giraffe mixed with a human. Because at that time I was documenting it, I didn't have this word avatar because there was no movie. So it really made me wonder, what does James Cameron actually know? Like, I'm sure he was briefed the same way Spielberg and others have been. Spielberg was briefed by Reagan and a whole committee of people at the White House before he did Close Encounters. And it just makes me wonder, what does he really know and what did they tell him? Because there has to be some kind of correlation. I mean, yeah, he made the avatars with a long neck, but it's not that giraffe, it's not that angled giraffe neck, right? Like Zufu has. And I would really love to pick his brain and find out, or know how to find the research and the data on any kind of information like that, because I would love to know where Zufu is from. I don't think in any of the memory recall that I have, I don't think there's any conversation of where he came from. Maybe because they just assumed that I knew already. Maybe I do somewhere in my subconscious know, and it just hasn't surfaced yet. But I'm still trying to fit my own dots, fit my own pieces together by connecting dots. So I think that would be interesting to try to figure out where Zufu comes from, what his race or species, or however you would say that, actually is. So I want to share that with you too. And I want to share some really interesting. I don't know if you know who Casper Sight is. He's on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everywhere, and I love him. That's what my family watches in our pastime. If we have time to watch something on TV, we're watching Casper Sight on YouTube because he's hilarious and he finds hella really great stuff. And a lot of, he's really popular. So a lot of people send him really great stuff too. Um, but we were watching a video that he did the other night about UFOs and aliens. And it's got stuff about Trump in it that I think you need to see. Very interesting stuff. Casper Sight. Go to his page, subscribe, and do the thing. Okay, play. What's happening?
Channels. And one of the first questions that they always ask him, and he says himself, is I always get asked this question: what's at Area 51? Do aliens exist? And his reply is basically, I don't believe in it. There's a lot about it. And it's a bit of a political yes no answer. There's no really definitive answer, right? But apparently he's always known. Sorry, that's better English. Anyway, let's take a little look.
He's talking about Trump. I guess I didn't back it up quite far enough. Let me back it up just a little bit so you can hear that part and understand the context of where he's coming from here. Where's that? All right, we'll just start at the beginning here.
Again, thank you so much for sending me these emails and X tweets and TikToks and all that sort of stuff. I really do appreciate it. So we're going to go through a bunch of videos which I think are, something that we need to be speaking about. The first one, Stephen C over on X, thank you very much, mate, has tweeted me a channel over on X called Skywatch Signal. And they have basically tweeted out a news clip from NBC News. I mean, I'm not too sure whether NBC News is classified as legit. It's something could be trusted. It's credible. I think it's America. Is it America? Yeah, it's America. Okay, so let's have a little look at this because this says Israel's former space chief says aliens exist and Trump knew. In 2020, a man who spent 30 years running Israel's space program dropped a bombshell. Let's take a little listen. And one thing before we get into the video that I'd like to say is it says here that Trump knew. Now, I've seen a few interviews and podcasts when Trump went on certain channels, And one of the first questions that they always ask him, and he says himself, is I always get asked this question: what's at Area 51? Do aliens exist? And his reply is basically, I don't believe in it. There's a lot about it. And it's a bit of a political yes no answer. There's no really definitive answer, right? But apparently he's always known. Sorry, that's better English. Anyway, let's take a little look.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity...
Hang on. Humanity isn't ready. Mate, I don't
Right?
know about that.
I don't know about that either. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's a bunch of hogwash.
I really don't know about that. The amount of disclosure which has happened, and didn't Trump already release a load of UAP files and things like that, and alien files? Maybe not so much the ET files, but definitely UAP files, so you can actually go on the website and check out for yourself. Okay, but even when they recognize that there are UAP or UFOs in the air and we don't know what they are, we don't know where they come from, which basically they were speculating, yeah, these are like alien technologies. Everyone was just like, all right. I think we're so far past, like most people are so far past caring because they got their own shit to deal with in life. I don't know, mate. I think we're more than ready. I don't know. And it makes me think about another video that I'm going to show you about in a second.
Humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives. Now,
so, experiments. Okay, this is going to be quite an interactive video, I think, okay? Because wasn't there that idea that there was an agreement years ago that ET, extraterrestrials, will give technology to us humans, but in the return of tests for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Tests on humans, i.e. abductions. So aliens would say, yeah, here's your latest iPhone.
Right. That's exactly what the deal was. And I want to show you, maybe not all of you, because I have a lot of new subscribers recently, but I actually have this story to tell about that I've told before on my channel, about when I first started having mass sightings as an adult. And I really wanted to understand what was going on and who the hell really just knows about this. And so I was like, well, if anybody knows, it would be the NSA. So I'll just go to the NSA's website and find out. Just very innocently and naively, I just thought, I can do this and everything will be fine. Well, sure enough, I went to their website, and immediately upon getting there and typing in the word alien, this big round vault thing showed up that's got like pie slice categories. And this first slice on the left, like about 10 o'clock, right? At about the 10 o'clock slice, it says known alien species. And I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I wonder if I can get in that. Click. Sure enough, went right in. And I looked at a list of what they called 57 known species. But it was really much more than 57 because there were categories and subcategories of that, and friend or foe or neutral and all these things, right? And I'm reading this list and I'm just like, oh my God, they do know. This is all here, blah, blah, blah. Well, long story short, I bookmarked it thinking I was going to show it to my, at the time, husband and my brother the next day. And no, that didn't happen. Um, while we were all gone for work and school, the house was broken into, the computer hard drive was wiped, my laptop's motherboard was swiped, my house was ransacked, all of my books and files and paperwork had been gone through and strewn all over the place. Um, Someone clearly didn't want me nosing around any further, right? And by this point, I had already made reports to MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, about my big sightings of the triangles going over and seeing the big, uh, typical classical saucer type shaped crafts landing in the field out near my home and all these different things that were going on, right? So my phone was tapped after that. Access to a lot of websites was blocked on our, we had dial up. That's how long ago this was. It was dial up, but access would be denied. We couldn't go to certain websites for looking for more information. And I'm not talking about just government websites, I'm talking about public websites that we would get blocked access to. Um, People in white SUVs with dark tinted out windows would sit outside my home during the day and watch my house. Black helicopters were flying over, the whole damn deal, right? It was a whole big thing. And it went on for about 6 or 7 years. Um, just from doing that naive thing. Well, I'm at it again, and it's out there in the public, and I'm going to even share it with you because apparently they've relaxed on what they are willing to share, because I actually found a declassified document from the NSA and I want to share it with you. I think this is the right tab. Yeah. So you can clearly see this is NSA portals 75 documents, news features, declassified documents, cryptologic spectrum, communications with extraterrestrials. And this is a PDF. And I will share the link down below. There are 7 pages, which everybody knows how I feel about sevens. And this is communication with extraterrestrial intelligence. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. Like I said, I'll put the link there for anybody that wants to look at it. But I want to read this page here for you, if you will entertain me long enough to do so. It says, we are not alone in the universe. A few years ago, this notion seemed far-fetched. Today, the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence is taken for granted by most scientists. Even the, staid National Academy of Sciences has gone on record that contact with other civilizations is no longer something beyond our dreams, but a natural event in the history of mankind that will perhaps occur in the lifetime of many of us. Sir Bernard Lovell, one of the world's leading radio astronomers, has calculated that, even allowing for a margin of error of 5,000%, there must be in our galaxy about 100 million stars, which have planets of the right chemistry, dimension, and temperature to support organic evolution. If we consider that our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is but one of at least a billion other galaxies similar to ours in the observable universe, the number of stars that could support some form of life is, to reach for a word, astronomical. As to advanced forms of life, advanced by our own miserable Earth standards, Dr. Frank D. Drake of the National Radio Astronomy Observation at Green Bank, West Virginia, has stated that putting all of our knowledge together, the number of civilizations which could have arisen by now is about 1 billion, billion with a B. The next question is, where is everybody? The nearest neighbor to our solar system is Alpha Centauri, only 4.3 light years away, but according to Dr. Su Shu Huang of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is, NASA, its planetary system is probably too young for the emergence of life. Two other heavenly friends, Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti, about 11 light years away, are stronger contenders for harboring life. Nevertheless, if superior civilizations are abundant, the nearest would probably be at least 100 light years away. Therefore, it would take 200 years for a reply to be forthcoming, a small pattern of 7 generations. This should, however, make little difference to us in view of the enormous potential gain from our contact with a superior civilization. Unless we are terribly conceited, a very unscientific demeanor, we must assume that the others are far more advanced than we are. Even a 50-year gap would be tremendous. A 500-year gap staggers the imagination. And as for a 5,000-year gap, by the way, if they are as much as 50 years behind us, forget it. It is quite possible that others have satellite probes in space retransmitting to them anything that sounds non random to the probe, but they have probably called us several thousand years ago and are waiting for an answer. Or worse yet, they have given up, or more probably, they have reached such impressive technological advances that they have destroyed themselves. In this connection, Professor Isaf Sklavotsky, Russia's greatest radio astronomer, has cited the profound crises which lie in wait for a developing civilization, any one of which may well prove fatal. Self-destruction as a result of thermonuclear catastrophe or some other discovery which may have unpredictable and uncontrollable consequences. Genetic danger, overproduction of information, restricted capacity of the individual's brain, which can lead to excessive specialization with consequent dangers of degeneration, and a crisis precipitated by the creation of artificial intelligent beings. Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti were the targets on which Dr. Drake focused his attention in the spring of 1960 in Project Ozma. Now, I want you to please continue to read all of this because they're going to explain to you binary code and how this is the language, the universal language to communicate with and by. They will also touch on the Pythagorean theorem, which is important to note. And of course, this is how you would use binary code in figures. This describes two adult individuals and a child in the center with other data around it. And we actually sent a template out into space years ago that Carl Sagan helped to work on that has all of our information, our DNA, what man looks like, what type of radio signal we use, etc., and our location in space. And we got a reply in a crop circle as to what their DNA is, what their species looks like, and where they're located in space, as well as their antenna array. And the antenna array that is in that crop circle matches the antenna array look on the Boogosphere, as well as the binary coded message in a disk next to that crop circle, which is a separate crop circle with a alien face and then like a CD disk, has binary code in it, and it has the same message about saving humanity, raising their vibration, and all of humanity awakening spiritually and growing. So, all of that is very important information to connect these dots and to understand that we are not alone. We have never been alone. They have always been here, even if we didn't know it and couldn't find them. Also, I think that they travel interdimensionally, not just on this dimensional plane. So, we also have the design of a language for cosmic intercourse, which is this code here. So there's some very interesting things here if you want the meat and potatoes of what they really do know. They talk about music in it as well. Okay, so that's the 7 pages. And now we will go back to what Ben was showing on his show, because it all ties together. And if you're still with me and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and like these videos, comment down below, help the algorithm to get my videos out, and let's grow this channel together and spread the truth. It's all totally free and greatly, greatly appreciated.
Whatever they got up to now, right? But in return, I want 5 human beings, please, in the state of Texas. I'm sure there was a deal. What I mean by interactive is you tell me, and then maybe I can sort of feed off of those comments and make another video about it. But I'm sure there was some sort of,
And that's, I think, the deal, part of the deal being that they can, the aliens can still abduct people and take them and do whatever they're doing with them, is the reason why there's so many people that want to control this narrative. And so when you get someone who writes a popular book, or you get somebody that's got a great story, then all of a sudden you've got this infiltration happening to where people want to come in, swoop in, and control the narrative. Kind of, I mean, I love Chris Bledsoe, so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad against him, but I feel like to some extent, that's what they're doing with him. And he has even admitted that some of these people that he has befriended over the years now, one of the gentlemen just passed away, that he told him truthfully that his whole mission was to come in, befriend him and his family, get to know them, hang out with them, go see what they were seeing, and then squash the whole narrative. Now, granted, he didn't end up doing that in the end. He became a believer instead, because how can you not with everything that Chris Bledsoe is experiencing and his family? But to some extent, they're still controlling the narrative, because I have noticed on several of the interviews that I've watched of him lately that he's telling more things now that he said before, that he is saying that he couldn't say before. Now, why couldn't he say it? Why was he not telling that part of the story publicly before, unless someone is handling him in some way to control the narrative until a certain time? So I just think that they get their hands in stuff a lot and they muddy the waters, and I don't like that. It's time to find the truth.
or there was an idea that there was an agreement. The other thing that made me think of something, what was this?
There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
See?
Well, okay, hang on. I missed that bit. There's a underground...
That's the Israeli former space security chief telling you, another high-level official telling you, we have bases on Mars.
Base on Mars?
Also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
Is this why we're trying our asses off right now to get to Mars? 1 second. Wasn't there that person? Who was that person? Who predicted that 2025 would be the time we meet Aliens or ET. Baba Vanga, yeah. I did a video about her.
Yep.
Baba Vanga was this. Here we go. Baba Vanga also foretold the Earth would encounter extraterrestrial beings by 2025, asserting that these beings would make their presence known. The prediction would spark debates about the existence of aliens and their potential impact on humanity. And also, she predicted that we would learn telepathy from these aliens.
And you will, because you already innately can do this. You just don't know how. And now that we're adults, I'm one of those people trying to teach other people how to do it because we do it all the time. We're just not realizing we're doing it. So we don't put it in the same class with telepathy. You know, we're not thinking outside the box of what we think the definition of telepathy is. And the aliens are going to give us a clear, sure way of learning it because that's the way they speak to you all the time. But we speak to each other that way too. We just don't notice it. It's more subtle. We use our vocal cords too. So you'll know for sure that you can use telepathy that's innately built into you when they get here.
Which some people suggest that this is something, a lost art that we obviously once had. What do you make of that?
What'd I just say?
And also there was this other guy.
Anyhow, we have scientists and military guys that have been working alongside of some of those dudes, and they are in our midst.
Yep.
When I retired, we knew of 4 different groups, and they were all humanoid. But they were all not the kind of guys who could walk up and down the street on a Saturday afternoon without being seen or responded to. But one of the groups of 4 looks exactly like us in the sense that it could be sitting here in this auditorium
Nordic.
next to you and you wouldn't know it.
The Nordic.
Next to you in an airplane or a restaurant or a theater. They're in our midst, guys. This one group particularly is in our midst. And apparently since 1954, when Ike met them at Muroc Air Force Base in California, they've been working with us, trying to help us make that transition from adolescence into adulthood.
Yep.
And why are they doing that? Well, apparently this is the same group that had a hand in engineering our genetics 10,000, 100,000 years ago. And if you want a little history on that subject, read Zecharia Sitchin. Stories are shockingly accurate in the fact they literally tell the essential story of our beginnings. They translate these ancient cuneiform tablets from Sumer. Zechariah is not the only one. There was a brilliant Englishman with the name of Christian O'Brien who went home a year or so ago. We were genetically engineered, and they've been coming and going, and they've been in our midst for a hell of a long time. And somebody said to Sitchin one time, Zechariah, when are they coming back? And he said, whatever made you think they ever left? And I don't think they did ever leave. Now, again, this is, I think, a little shocking information here. At least it shocked the hell out of me. Now, when I was in Germany at a conference some years ago, a Russian cosmonaut by the name of Marina Popovich handed out a few copies to me and Michael Hesseman, another researcher friend of mine. The Soviets sent this fantastic mission to Mars. They named it Phobos 2 because Phobos 1 is one of the moons of Mars, 12 miles in diameter. So they named their space mission Phobos 2, and they took a whole bunch of pictures.
It's funny how he's mentioning Mars, we just said about an underground base in Mars.
One of the pictures they took, which Michael Hesseman published in his magazine, is apparently a city the size of Chicago under the surface in Mars, generating an enormous amount of heat, because this photo was taken in the infrared. It's in German at the bottom here, but Michael had published it in his magazine. From Phobos 2. A city under the surface of Mars the size of Chicago. You can see practically, the blocks, the streets, so on. So yes, Virginia, there are Martians, and yes, they are on Mars. And some of them are probably here.
Yep.
Because we apparently don't look that different from each other.
This is one of my theories, that we've come from Mars. We're going to destroy this planet, and then we're going to go back to Mars. We're going to build up Mars again. We're going to destroy it, and we're going to jump back to Earth again. It's going to keep on bouncing back and back and back and back and forth like that.
But you'll never see this published in an American newspaper or an American magazine. Had to be published in Germany by Michael Hesseman. Phobos took another picture. While it was in orbit around Mars, and the story I was told is that they literally planned to land on Phobos, the moon. Well, they never got there. Because while they're in orbit around Mars, this thing came up from the surface of Mars, gigantic in size, and apparently bumped Phobos 2, knocked it out of orbit, and down it went. So there's somebody up there who says, no, 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 no. You can come and peek, but then you can't stay very long, and you're not going to take that many pictures. We're not going to allow it.
What? What? That is absolutely crazy.
Again, controlling the narrative.
It's all linked, isn't it? It really is. I'm going to show you this guy now. He keeps on popping up on my feed. His name is Daryl Anchor, and he claims to channel an ET called Basher, okay? B-A-S-H-A-R.
Over the course of the next few years, there will be certain things that will occur that will let you know that contact is about to happen, not only in terms of an increase in sightings, but also in the way in which this may occur. There are several paths that may be taken by extraterrestrial beings, such as ourselves and others, to begin to initiate you into becoming familiar with our presence in a physical way. One of those ways may be something like this. Ships may appear over your oceans just offshore, so that you know the ship will stay there over the water. You may watch it from shore. It will not move. You will not feel in any way, shape, or form threatened because it is not coming over your heads, over land where you are, but remaining at arm's length out over the water, so that it gives you time to absorb the fact that they are there off the coastlines of different countries around your world. They may be there for quite
Sound familiar? It already began.
some time to allow you the opportunity to gather, to travel to those places, to see the ships. We understand that sometimes they may be surrounded by some of your aerial vehicles, such as helicopters and so on and so forth. But that will all just be part of the show. They will remain there to give you time to get used to the idea that we are here, to get used to the idea that this is the beginning of a great change upon your planet, of a great change.
And that is something, that is one of the key phrases, the last one I was really waiting for, that I was given as a child. I was given 3 phrases, okay? Something would happen in my late 40s that everyone would start to know as the Great Awakening. Check. We are who we've been waiting for, because I'm here to help finish Jesus's true message. And check, people are saying that now. And the third one is the one I've been waiting for, because that's the finality before it really begins to unfold rapidly. And he is saying it. The world as we know it is about to change.
Change in your society, to give you time to discuss among yourselves how you will respond to this change. So it may happen that way, but it may also happen in a few other ways. One way may be that you will start to see more orbs of light, which not only can be representative of spirit entities, but also are actually a type of extraterrestrial energy probe. So you may see some of these orbs descend and again remain fixed in a particular position that is non-threatening, giving you time to observe them, to record them, to discuss them, to
Acclimate.
start to understand that they are there as now something that can become a relatively permanent fixture in your reality, to broaden your understanding of what reality is. Between the ships and the orbs, it may give you an opportunity to start really letting in the idea that everything is about to change. Beyond that, one of the most important things to understand is this: your world will be introduced by different organizations and factions of your governments, will be introduced to extraterrestrials within the next 5 years at the outside. At first, it will probably be most likely Pleiadians, then followed by hybrids. After that, we shall see what you are ready for. The next 5 years is not so far away. There will be certain things that will happen before that, as we have already said, sometime around the end of 2026, the beginning of 2027, there will be things that will happen that will allow you to know you are not alone. That will start to wake you up, open you up to the idea that things are about to change.
And I would even go as far as saying that by the spring equinox of next year, everyone will know that. And I'm not big on giving dates. I don't like giving dates, but I'm going to give you that one.
In a dramatic way on your planet, to give you the opportunity to decide which way you are going to go, which direction you prefer, what kind of a reality you prefer to experience, and what you wish it to contain.
So, is he mental or is he telling the truth? Can he channel this basher alien? And, are we expecting to see more and more of these things hovering over the sea? More orbs? I think already we are seeing that, but is that something that he's basically just seen nowadays and just echoed? I'm not too sure. But there is a video that I can't locate, but he talks about how we will see first of all the Nordic alien, because they look very similar to us, and then it goes on to another alien which has got like a small nose and slightly more stereotypical alien, and then it goes into we'll meet the grey alien, and after that the this like
The Tantalloid.
grasshopper type looking
Oh,
alien. I can't remember what it's called now.
praying mantis. And then the Tantalloid.
What is it called? The praying mantis. That's the one. The praying mantis looking alien. So anyway, that's going to be more than likely the grand finale. But anyway, here's something else I found quite interesting. Over on the channel Hallucination Hippies. Okay, make sure you go and follow this guy. He's talking about another mummy that was found in Nazca. Okay, now we've seen, I think, was it a year or two ago, maybe now, the Nazca mummies that some people still claim to be real. Some people just say no, it was a whole bunch of different bones from different animals stuck together and made to look like it's mummified. But take a listen to this.
All right, file this.
And personally, there are some of those mummies that were proven to be fake, but there's also the original mummies that they found that were proven to be real. And again, I think that's someone who covertly intervened to navigate this narrative to their own agenda. And he explains it well.
File this one under what the freaking crap, or things they didn't teach us in history class works too. Meet Santiago, the small, strange mummy from Peru that's turning more heads than a UFO sighting at a NASA barbecue would. In all seriousness, he was found near the Nazca lines in Peru, tucked away in diatomaceous earth, preserved like a prehistoric time capsule. With 3 fingers, non-human proportions, and a skull that's let's just say not your average anatomy textbook size. Carbon dating puts him at over 1,000 years old. So if this is a hoax, it's been in the works since like the Middle Ages. CT scans, yes. Full skeleton, organs intact. No wires, no duct tape, no suspicious seams. Furthermore, DNA tests, no match to any known human or animal species on Earth.
What?
Which is science.
Right. The mitochondrial DNA says that it is not human.
Speak for, we don't know what the heck this is. He was even presented to Congress in Mexico. Not exactly something that you would do with a paper mache art project. Now, whether this is proof of a lost species, ancient visitors, or something else entirely, well, that's up for debate, but it's hard to ignore. Tell me what your theory is. Alien? Ancient hybrid? Elaborate misdirection? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious what you think.
Now, I know that there was something that I saw a while ago.
And I'm curious to know what you all think. So drop that in the comments, because seriously, we need to have a conversation about this. We need to get to the bottom of things. We need to get the truth out there. And there's so many people that know so much about this that have not been brave enough to come forward and tell any type of public forum anything whatsoever. I have a group that is for alien abductees for support on Facebook. And there are a multitude of people in this group who still to this day will not speak on their experiences. They have experiences, but they're afraid to talk about it because everyone is shamed and made to feel embarrassed and stupid and crazy. And so people are afraid to speak about it. And we need to talk about this in a serious, mature way, because this is not foo-foo crazy crap. This is real. This is real. And the science that's tangible is there now to prove that it's real. So it's safe to come forward. It's safe to talk. And you are safe if you want to join my support group, because I do not allow any type of bullshit in my group. And I'll put that link down below too.
That certain areas of the world, they actually used to put something around their head, tighten it to actually deliberately shape these heads like their heads like that. And it was I can't remember what it was now. So bizarre history of people reshaping their heads. Indeed, scientists have found evidence of cranial deformation amongst the Australian Aborigines and dates back about 30,000 years ago. The Maya, Inca, and some other North American natives are also familiar with this practice. And ancient Chinese, too, people were known to have practiced skull enlargements over 12,000 years ago. Head shaping practices are equally known to be being popular in ancient Peru in the 1500s. Okay, so that might explain that. I think they did it something to do with beauty. I could read the whole thing, but I'm not going to bother, because what the next question is, why only 3 fingers? Because even if they chopped off 2 of their fingers, you would still see the bones internally to where the other 2 fingers should have grown, unless they dissect and take those bones out and everything like that. But then you're going to see scar and tissue and all that sort of stuff, and they haven't seen that, I don't think. So that's really weird. The head could be explained, but the fingers, that's really, really strange. They're jumping onto some footage, which is quite incredible. Concerned citizen over on X sent me this. Some seriously wild UFOs being spotted and filmed over Florida right now. Look at this.
The UFO.
It is most definitely an unidentified flying object.
Most definitely.
What the hell is that? We've seen something similar to this before. This isn't. I don't think this is AI. It seems to be just floating. It's moving upwards.
Going up.
Yeah, it is going up. Come on, love, keep it still. Oh man, I wish I had my phone, my Samsung.
This one personally, for me, reminds me of the Dark Knight satellite shape. And it also looks very similar to what some people around the world have been filming and putting on social media platforms that looks like from a distance, it looks like a man in a jetpack, but I don't think it is. But I think that's what this is. And I believe it's probably some type of alien probe.
Samsung, mate. I'll be able to zoom into it and see the bloody texture of the thing. Man, what the hell? Is it a balloon? Is it rising up because of the heat? This is also something else. Luis Elizondo shows UFO from crash retrieval. UFO? You mean alien? What? Look at the state of that thing, mate. Look at the bulging eyes. I'm sure.
And I don't know exactly that this is something that Alessandro actually shared because it doesn't say that on any of the images. And I just watched a Joe Rogan show the other day where this man was over on there and they were talking about aliens and they used the same picture, but it was a whole different story. Something about a younger lady, human lady, that gave birth to this, and this was supposed to be the result of a fetus that was a hybrid that didn't survive the birth. So again, somebody meddling in some shit and trying to throw disinformation into the mix to muddy the water, possibly. So don't believe everything you see. Use discernment. Not that this couldn't be a very real picture and they're just making up a bunch of shit about it to make it seem like it's not real, because that's a very plausible thing that a tactic they've used before as well. So just keep that in mind.
Well, didn't Joe Rogan talk
I
to
forgot
somebody?
that was
Because
in
I
there.
remember seeing a thumbnail about this one. 1 second.
Oh, Jamie, speaking of UFOs, did you see Lou Elizondo, these photos that are supposedly of a real alien?
Oh, here we go.
Bro, it's so dumb. The photos look blurry. Of the photos of the dead alien, like you can't even zoom in on that. You can't even fucking focus. Look at these. Yeah, that thing. Look at that. What is that? What's that? What is that? How about better pictures? This is crazy. These are the only pictures. Is this from the 40s? Like, what's this picture from? What is this? Alien. Oh, it's 1993. Alien hybrid child. Born to a 15-year-old girl, subject of ET genetic experiment, under chin, neck, and upper torso view. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Hybrids.
that's under chin. And then what's the other?
And again, Elizondo might be the one who has this information. I don't know. I haven't vetted this. I haven't dug into it. But to me right now, just off the cuff, it seems like two different stories, two different narratives to muddy the water. But I could be wrong because, I mean, it does happen from time to time.
Photo.
It's the same. It's just the same. It's just one photo.
Wasn't there another one? It seems like
Just not
there's
very
two
often.
photos.
That's just with this particular.
What's one of those babies called that are born like that?
Oh, Harlequin babies?
Yeah.
It could be anything, man. I mean, it might not even be human. I mean, it might not
Probably not
even
an alien.
be. You know, who fucking knows?
Do you think? I mean, like someone like Donald Trump can hold in the information like
I don't think
until
they
about his
tell him.
daily day? You
I don't think they tell him. I don't think he cares.
But who can
He's
sit?
playing golf.
But who can sit on that information if you know that? Wouldn't it be terrifying to you know?
This video is weird today because I'm just jumping on top of things. We're talking about hybrid aliens, and now they're talking about hybrid aliens. We spoke about Trump, knowing this information and not calling it out and they're saying about, will Donald Trump know about this? And he's saying, well, that he wouldn't even be told about it. It's weird. It's like just this whole video is just interlinking with each other.
It's almost that to play
Synchronicities abound.
someone who knows about aliens existing. You think also breaks off and plays golf and
Yes.
decides what they want to have for dinner tonight.
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's like finding out vampires exist. It would change everything.
I think it's a fun.
I think no.
And they are actually one of the species that's on the list that I spoke of at the beginning of the video. Vampires are real.
I agree with Joe. I think that my old buddy Joe. I think if you did find out, well, what are you going to do about it? This is why I think we're perfectly capable now of accepting that there's alien life. Yeah, we would just get along. We'd be like, okay, there's aliens. Well, we already knew it anyway. You know,
Pretty
Ben,
much.
you're always going to get that divide whether these things are real or not. Let's look at this here with Dr. Stephen Greer talking about the boogosphere. This boogosphere is sort of like died and then sort of came back again. It's very strange. First, it was like, this is real. Then it got debunked. And then more evidence comes out that it just seems to be real again, once again. Listen to this.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm in Mexico City. As many of you know, we've been examining the boogosphere for the last 2 days with Congressman Burleson and a group of scientists. We've just been notified by Jaime Mason that there was an attempt by fake policemen to enter the vault where this boogosphere is stored, and we have notified security and the apparatus I'm working with under law enforcement. And you should know that the other risk here is that we have taken specific samples from the boogosphere that will be tested in a state-of-the-art lab to prove whether or not the metal, as well as some of the other components, are of Earth or outer space origin. Those scientists' information have been provided to the top law enforcement and security apparatus that I'm working with, and so any sort of attempts to interfere with this examination will be known, and the people and perpetrators will be held to account for. So this is what I wanted people to know, and we're doing everything to set up security for this. Thank you.
So this relates to this here as well. This is LM Mark UFO over on X who tweeted me this. Comparing the dots on the outside symbol of boogosphere to the scan of the inside. Look at this. Isn't that so strange? What does that even mean? What?
Tell me what it's like, Josh.
It's heavier than it looks. It's definitely probably like 10 to 20 pounds for sure. It's a little cool to touch as well. It feels colder than the environment, but I wouldn't say like super significant, you know. I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest. I feel it. I'm like sweating a little bit. One, I don't want to drop it, but two, I feel like something extraordinary is going on. I mean, up close, it looks worn, you know, like it looks like something that was flying in the sky.
Yeah, there's lots of indentations, scratch.
I want to pause that right there so that you can get a good look at this image. This image right here, where all of the copper is. Okay. Get a good look at that. Now I want you to look at this. This is is this ours? Okay. This is a side by side. Let me see if I can, maybe I can do it this way. There we go. So the one on this side is the one that we sent into space, right? It tells our DNA and our location in space and all these things. And then, this is man. And some more information there in binary code, and this is our antenna array at the bottom, okay? The bottom image is our antenna array, which is satellites. And then this is the response in the crop circle that shows all of their information here, their DNA, blah, 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 this little person that looks typical gray, right? Typical gray alien, and then their antenna array. And look at the shape of this. That's the same shape. Now, if you look at this one, this is the actual crop circle, which isn't a circle, but that is the picture. And as you'll see here at the bottom, it is that same image, the very same image that is on the Boogosphere. And there's also another, let me get this back down some, because there's also a face. Here is the face. There's a face image also. Okay. And then there's a disc as well, like what we would know of as a CD disc here. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. So there's your alien face and the disc with binary code on it. And just to refresh your memory before we go back, I want you to look at the shape of this antenna array once again in the actual crop circle. Which is right here, because in this image it's tilted. So it's that image right there. Now we're going to go back. That's the same image. That is an antenna. They already know that. The scientists that are studying it, they know that this is something that can send and receive transmissions. That is an antenna. That is the exact same antenna on the reply that we got from the aliens that left those crop circles. The images that you see around the outer ring of the antenna itself are symbols that are meant to unlock your memory and help you to spiritually awaken, to become more enlightened. I'm going to let you listen to the end of this, and I'm going to see if I can find the translation.
Scratches, marks here. You would think with a alien, well, would you? I mean, an alien metal of some sort, alien material, that it wouldn't scratch, it wouldn't dent, you know? But clearly it is. And it does. Very strange.
Sky and for a long time and took a little bit of like damage. But it's heavier than you think.
Show me the symbols.
The first time, 2 kilograms. 6, 9, and 10.
So it's getting heavier.
Change the heavy.
Wow.
Oh, but yeah, because I knew that it can change its weight and also temperature as well. Very odd, very, very odd. I'm going to cut it there, but I have got more to show you this week, okay? So make sure that you subscribe.
Definitely subscribe to his channel. He's awesome. All right. So the translated message says, much pain, but still time. Believe and beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Okay, so that's the part of the message in that one. And I'm going to find the rest of the message in a moment, but I just wanted to go over this with you because it shows the mathematical and scientific codes and how it was decoded. The binary code, which is certain patterns within the crop circle that have been interpreted, potentially representing numbers or a simple message. Then there's the symbolism, the use of symbols like the ones found in the Arecibo message, could be a way to communicate complex ideas or information. And then the Arecibo message, the famous Arecibo message, a radio transmission sent to a star cluster, included information about humanity, DNA, and our solar system, and also our antenna. Some researchers draw parallels between the Arecibo message and the crop circle patterns, suggesting they might serve a similar purpose of communication because they were replying to us, right? So then in 2013, the crop circle in California was analyzed by a Braille expert who identified a Braille message within the pattern. Let's see what that is. Is it going to tell us? Okay, that looks similar to coordinates to me. Botched coordinates, like they didn't figure out the whole thing. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that don't really tell anything. All right, I'm going to go back. Okay, so another message proposed by Dr. Drew suggesting hope and the possibility of positive extraterrestrial contact. And while crop circles continue to be a subject of fascination and debate, some researchers propose that they may contain meaningful messages from extraterrestrial sources. Others attribute them to human creativity or natural phenomena, which I call bullshit on. Now, some crop circles are created from the earth itself, which is a natural phenomenon, sort of, but that's actually like light workers and grid workers that are raising the vibration of the planet, and so it creates geometric symbols. And I'm kind of in the know on that too a little bit, but we'll cover that another time. Let me see if I can find. It's not the Arecibo. I don't know. Let's try this one. I don't know. No, that's no good either. Okay. Let me see. Boogosphere. Message translation. Mm-hmm. Does this tell anything on it? A call to humanity. The message is seen as a call for humanity to embrace a collective shift in consciousness, potentially to address environmental issues and promote planetary healing. Okay, well, it's not talking about environmental issues, and all that global warming crap is for the birds, in my opinion. But let's see if I can find. I think it was like a chat GPT or something that helped translate the symbols. Oh, this might be it right here. Let's see this. Oh, is it muted?
Sure, I'm not the only one, but I went ahead and put this image in chat and asked what it meant, and you will not believe what it came back with. I'll let you read through all of it, but here are some of the highlights. Outer human figures in a circle, which symbolizes unity, harmony, collective consciousness, and collaboration, possibly among different beings or entities. Central microchip circuit board. This implies technology, advanced intelligence, or interconnectedness, possibly hinting at AI, extraterrestrial tech, or a fusion of biology and technology. Mysterious circular script. A fictional or alien language, possibly inspired by sci-fi, a stylized artistic code meant to evoke mystery, secrecy, or higher knowledge. Meant to suggest ancient or futuristic communication beyond our current understanding. Overall design resembles crop circle style art or symbolic seal. Could represent communication from higher intelligence or the integration of humanity and technology or galactic unity. Interpretation possibilities. A starseed activation symbol, calling upon unity, evolution, and higher frequencies. A visual metaphor for transhumanism, the union of spirit, the circle, and the human, and the machine is the chip. Or a futuristic spiritual sigil. Whatever
Sigil.
it is, I hope we have answers soon. Scientists are carrying out tests on it as we speak. But for me, it is giving off vibes of like the Georgia Guidestones, which I did visit 2 months.
Which notice also that that said that has Pleiadian origins. And I find that very intriguing because the message that I have always had my entire life that I've shared with my parents and my family and my friends and everyone that would listen was that this is a spiritual awakening, a collective consciousness, a unity thing, not in the New World Order kind of vibes, but in logical, common sense, love your neighbor kind of ways, love humanity as your neighbor and want what's fair and right for everyone. Not that we have to blend our cultures or our boundary lines or anything like that. We can still have all of those things intact and have compassion and love for the entire world and the collective of humanity and want what's best for everyone. But that's not the message that I was looking for. So let's see if this is it. And I know this is running kind of long, so I won't keep you much longer. But if you're still with me, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Okay, that's got a bazillion things to look at. We're not even going to do all that. So let's see. I don't know where to look for it exactly. It did not come from TikTok. I actually saw it on Mr. MBB333's video a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but a month or two ago. A lot has happened in that time period. But I'll see if I can find it and I'll bring it up on the next show or maybe when I do my live on Monday, I'll cover it then. And we'll go over it because it is a really beautiful message about unity and collective consciousness and us growing as a species and being graduated or introduced to a higher level of knowing and learning and evolution and interaction with other beings. And I think that's a really exciting time for us. I've been waiting since I was a kid to have the Jetson cars and um, know that have everyone to know that there's other life out there other than just ours. So I'm excited. I'm stoked for what's coming. Let me know what you think in the comments. And um, yeah, until then, be well and be blessed in love and light. And I'll see you again soon. Peace out.